So Chris Rock is doing a stand-up special. To my knowledge, this is like the first time or one of the first times that he's gone deep publicly since the Will Smith incident, where Will Smith smacked him on stage after he made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith. So I don't know why CNN felt the need to do this. But Don Lemon invites on some writer who's like, Will Smith was actually correct. Attacking somebody over a joke is based, actually. So, CNN wonders why, dude, your ratings are horrible. You guys are embarrassing. Nobody liked you. Nobody likes you. It's like, maybe this is why. Maybe don't present this and even just presenting it like a 50-50 type issue like they do. Assault? Maybe. Maybe assault. It's so unbecoming. This isn't news. I'll say about this what I said about, MSNBC, with them injecting their opinion and their bias into every story about Marianne Williamson. You guys are no different from me. I'm a commentator, but I come as advertised, right? I'll give you facts and information, and then I give you my take. I'm upfront about my biases. These guys hide their biases, act like we don't have any biases. We're just trying to be objective. And then everything they say is dripping with their bias. So this is another great example of it here. Let's watch.
Even still, people have a lot to say about Chris Rock's Netflix stand-up special in which he skewered Will Smith for slapping him at the Oscars. I've been hearing from a lot of people, primarily black women, who think that the coverage of the special is missing the mark. Rock's strongest words appear to be directed to or at Jada Pinkett Smith, the target of his Oscars joke last year. Rock traces his beef with her all the way back to 2016. That's when, according to Rock, she attempted to get him to quit the Oscars, to not host the Oscars because Will Smith wasn't nominated for the movie Concussion.
Nobody's picking on this. She started this. Nobody was picking on her. She said, me, a grown-ass man, should quit his job because her husband didn't get nominated for Concussion. And then this gives me a concussion.
So let me just say, if that story is true, that is narcissism that is off the charts. Why should Chris Rock not partake in this show because Will wasn't nominated for something? Why? Even if, Will Smith and Chris Rock were brothers, that's a very weird thing to demand of somebody or ask of somebody. That's just so narcissistic. So that's cringe as hell. I will give credit to one criticism of Rock, which I think is somewhat fair. Now, look, I haven't seen the whole Netflix special. I'll have to judge it on its own merits when I watch it. I've seen little clips here and there. The clips I saw I thought were pretty good. But, I guess one of the criticisms is it's kind of hack to, only talk about this or put so much focus on this, to just have it be the focus of something that happened to you in your life, even though it was a big story. It's it feels a little boomerish, right? So I think there might be some credit to that criticism, but what I've seen so far, I thought it was good, and I have to evaluate the whole thing on its own merits. Okay, but I just wanted to bring up one of the criticisms of Rock. But to this point, 100% Team Rock, because if that story's true, Jesus, what an ego on this woman.
Part of that was a larger push, though, because black actors weren't being nominated. But critics also blasted Rock for making black people the butt of his jokes to appeal to a white audience. And our next guest writes that Rock, quote, deserved to be slapped. So joining us now is the senior writer at The Root, Candace McDuffie. Good morning to you. Why did you think he deserved to be slapped?
It's not so much about being slapped as much as it is about accountability. Right? He has made black women specifically the butt of his jokes for years, and he's finally being held accountable. So I feel like this...
Being held accountable how? By being slapped. You can't say it's not really about being slapped, it's about accountability, but you mean accountability by being slapped. So it is about being slapped. Now, by the way, I don't even buy this narrative. Has Chris Rock made jokes at the expense of black women? Of course he has, but he's made jokes at everybody. He used to have a great bit about awkward young white loner people who become shooters. He had a whole bit about it. Everybody tries to make excuses. Oh, he was raised really nice, but then this weird thing happened, and then, that spiraled, and then he was a good kid, but then this happened. He's like, good kid. And the bit is something along the lines of, whatever happened to crazy? Isn't this person just crazy? And so he's made jokes at the expense of everybody because he's a comedian. Now, also, by the way, he is a black comedian, which you would think would give him a little more leeway in the sense that if he makes fun of black people, it's not because of necessarily he's racist against black people. But no, I mean, they're mucking this up and, again, making it all about identity.
Kind of sets the precedence, going forward, hopefully that people will be more careful about how they treat and discuss, black women.
People are going to focus on your words saying, is Candace McDuffie condoning violence, saying that, that Will Smith should have slapped Chris Rock?
I think, in the literal sense, it seems like a bit much. But honestly, sitting here, calling Jada out of her name, making fun of her hair condition, talking about her alopecia, words can be violent as well. And as we've seen...
No, it's not violent. You could say it's a dickish joke. You could say he's an asshole. You could say he's a prick. You could say you don't like it. All of that is fair. It is 100% not violence. Violence is violence. The only word you can maybe make a stretch to say they equal violence is a direct, specific threat of violence. Because then it's like, I'm going to beat your fucking ass and I'm going to do it right now. Okay, well, maybe you can make an argument. If that person hits me back after I say that, that's fair because I said I'm going to do violence to you now. And so you can say those words are equal to violence. That's fair, right? But anything outside of that, or direct threat of war, right? Like, no other words are violence. It's just not. It's just not. I don't care about a different interpretation of that because it's preposterous on its face. If a comedian makes a joke, even if it's a mean joke, it is a joke.
Black girls and women, we suffer abuse at higher rates in this country. So continuing to humiliate...
We suffer abuse at higher rates, which is why I'm okay with Chris Rock being abused.
Us only perpetuates this.
A lot of people laugh, though, when they hear the jokes and they say he's a comedian, he's just being funny. Maybe you're being too sensitive about it. What do you say?
I think it speaks to a larger American pattern of using marginalized people as comedic fodder. And then it can also, lead to violence being incited. It can lead to us being not seen as human. Words and comedy have larger consequences, as we've seen in recent years.
Yeah. A black woman comedian, as you know, Leslie Jones, calling out what she calls, and I quote, hypocrites who are attacking Chris Rock, she says, for sharing his perspective on what happened. And another quote, he is a comedian. This is his way of expressing it. If he's saying he would write a song, because it's painful, it's a painful thing that happened. What do you say to Leslie Jones?
What we saw on that stage wasn't comedy. It was comedy, but it was really pain. He hasn't healed from what's happened. And instead of kind of dealing with those emotions and those feelings, he's just taking it out and continues to take his rage and go out on black women.
But it is comedy, and that's his way of processing it. Look, if you're a comedian, you're clearly very verbal and communicative, and his way of working through it is to go on stage and talk about it and give his perspective and make jokes about it. That is all totally par for the course. What did Will Smith think he could beat Chris Rock's ass on stage in the middle of an award show and then Chris Rock would say nothing about it and just move on? That would be absurd. That would be giving a special pass to Will Smith and to Jada Pinkett Smith.
At the end of his special, he addresses why he didn't retaliate when he got slapped. Watch this.
And you know what my parents taught me? Don't fight in front of white people.
Does that joke bother you?
So much. You're telling me that black people can't fight in front of white people, but you can humiliate black people in front of white people. There was recently a clip that resurfaced of him with Jerry Seinfeld and Ricky Gervais and Louis C.K., where he gave Louis C.K. the pass to say the N-word. How is that okay? Right? But we have to act a certain way, but it doesn't apply to him.
Candace McDuffie, I'm so glad you could join us this morning. Thank you very much.
That last joke that she was going after was taking a shot at white people. Because the idea is, my parents taught me not to fight in front of white people. Why would his parents teach him that? His parents would teach him that because, hey, they already think you're savage, you're criminal, you're not equal to them. Don't feed into their stereotype by fighting in front of them. So that's a shot at white people. They have, some have this primitive belief of like, yeah, black people, they're like criminals, right? And so if you feed into that stereotype, that's quote unquote letting them win, validating their incorrect ideology. That's a shot at white people, but she's offended by it. I'm astonished CNN ran this segment. Let's debate the not debatable. Assault. Is it okay in this instance? No, it's not okay. No. Hitting somebody unprovoked is not okay, and don't give me this BS of, oh, it was provoked. No, it was a joke, and like literally everybody else, you can get over the joke. Look, I'm sure if I was sitting in a comedy club and a comedian was roasting me in very personal terms, I wouldn't like it. I might get a little triggered by it. But what I'm not going to do is rush the stage, and try to fight them, try to beat their ass. Because honestly, that screams insecurity. That screams weakness, and is trying to mask it with like this uber masculine energy and violence. That's nothing but a smokescreen, because really at the core of that is deep insecurity and narcissism and ego. And so, look, you could like the Chris Rock special or not like the Chris Rock special, but apologetics over the violence against him when he was the victim, I mean, it's just embarrassing. But this is CNN, This is CNN now. Let's debate whether or not assault is okay over jokes. Okay, dude. Have fun with that. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.